87% of people that get their real estate license are out of business within the first 5 years. And I'm going to share with you exactly why that happens, so you'll learn the steps you can take not to be part of the 90%, but in the 10% that actually make a lot of money. So the question is, why does this happen? What can realtors do not to become part of those statistics? And what steps do they need to do to make money? Hey, I'm John Hoffman, and welcome to Real-Time Real Estate. A little bit about me. I got licensed as a realtor in 1986. I was 5 at the time. And I've sold over $1 billion worth of real estate and approximately 2,300 homes. Over this time, I've learned a lot of the ins and the outs, the things to do and the things not to do. So the whole purpose for this channel and this information is to make buyers and sellers and realtors aware of these little tips and tricks, so they never say, I wish I knew that before I did this, or I wish I knew that before I bought this. Because the whole motivation is this, for me to do this, is just to create more of an information stream for people so they get real-time, real talk real estate. Why are so many real estate agents failing? Whether you're a new realtor or you're a realtor not producing at the level that you want, you might be guilty of some of these things. And if you are, you'll learn how to fix them. The biggest stress point that realtors have when they come into real estate is that they're going to do it part-time. And let me tell you, being a part-time real estate agent is almost impossible. If you don't have the 40 or 50 hours a week to put into being a realtor, you're going to have a really hard time building your business. If you plan on doing this part-time, the only way I would suggest you do that is if you want to do it to buy your own house or sell your own house, or maybe to buy an investment property. But besides that, it's really a recipe for disaster 99 out of 100 times. The next big reason is if you're going to go into real estate, you really want to have 4 to 6 months worth of reserves so that you can pay your bills, pay your mortgage, your car payment, school loan, everything that you have to pay, because if you don't, you're going to be putting a tremendous amount of stress on yourself. In a best case scenario, even if you sell a property in the first 30 days with an average of 45 to 60 days to closing, you're not going to get paid for 2.5 to 3 months. So if you don't have that reserve funding, you start to stress out, you start to panic, and when you start to build some momentum, more than likely you're going to get out of the business or go look for a part-time job or another full-time job. And you went into real estate without having the reserve fundings that's going to relieve a lot of that stress and pressure. The next biggest reason why realtors fail is because they don't have to succeed. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to go into real estate, I want you to ask yourself these questions. If you don't sell anything for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months, does your lifestyle change? Are you going to live in the same house? Same car, same restaurant, same vacations? If nothing's going to change because you have a significant other that is working, or you've got a lot of money in the bank, you're not going to succeed, because the self-accountability and the work that you need to put in to be successful in real estate is much harder than you think it is. A lot of people tell me, well, I want to become a realtor because I like to show homes and I've got a really good eye for decor. I think I could be helpful to people. Unfortunately, that mindset doesn't work. If you don't have to make money, if you don't have to succeed, you're not going to be doing the accountability that you really should do, because being successful in real estate means that you've got to do a certain amount of things that you might want to do on a daily basis, and we're going to get into some of those. The next biggest challenge I see realtors have is most people, and I'm guessing 85 to 90%, they get into real estate without ever having any formal sales training. They don't have any marketing training, and they don't have any lead generating skills or practicing so they can come into it. So you're going into a profession where you're the independent contractor. You're the one who's in charge of your company, your business, and you've got no sales training, you've got no marketing experience, and you've never been taught how to lead generate. These 3 skills are absolutely critical to be successful in real estate. And when you get into real estate and you go to an office and you don't have any of these skill sets, none of this training is being offered towards you or to you. And what's interesting is most people don't even know they need to have these skill sets until they get into the business. And after 30 days of getting their email signatures made and their websites done, and none of them have started to do the two basic skills that you need to do every day. And that is, you need to find people that want to buy and sell real estate, and you need to know what to say to them once you find them. If you don't become a master at those two skills, and you don't even start working to those two skills until you're 2 to 4 weeks into this or a month, you are way behind. And so not knowing what you need, what your skill set needs to be, and not preparing for that before you become a real estate agent puts you way behind the curve. The next big skill set that's missing is you come into it without a business plan. So let's say that you need to make $70,000 a year. You're going to become a realtor. You're going to start full time. You've got all of your expenses and you need to make $70,000 a year. That's the goal, first goal of the business plan. The next step is, what are the action steps that you're going to take every day to accomplish that goal? So we know that at $70,000, we're going to create these action steps. The action steps are going to be, I've got to create a schedule. I've got to lead generate so many hours a day. I got to work on my scripts. I've got to work on my marketing. So we're going to come up with a business plan, and included in the business plan is your daily schedule on things that you need to accomplish every day to make that, hit that goal of $70,000. So let's say that your average commission check after a split at your office is $7,000. So you might think that at $7,000, I need $70,000, that's 10 transactions. No, you're going to have to pay income tax and FICA and Social Security. And so you really might need to make $100,000 to bring home $70,000. And if it's $7,000 a check, you're probably at around 14 transactions your first year just to keep your head above water. But when you go into real estate and you don't even have your business plan and your goals and how much you need to make before you actually start working, and you don't have a schedule, this is why 87% of real estate agents are out of the business within 5 years. If you're a realtor now and you don't have this done, I suggest you start getting that right away. And if you're going to get into real estate, get a business plan, figure out the money you have to make, and how are you going to accomplish that in your first year. And I can tell you that if you start doing these things, either now, if you're new, or before you get into real estate, you're going to be able to have momentum the day you start. And that's the next big reason why realtors have a hard time succeeding, is that they are the CEOs of their own company. You are an independent contractor where no one's going to hold you accountable, and you need to do that yourself. If you haven't had a lot of practice at holding yourself accountable, you're going to delay to do the things that you should do, or you're not going to do it yourself. For example, I talk to new agents every day at our office. There's almost 300 agents in our office. And when I talk to the newer agents, they go, no, I don't want a cold call. Well, I don't want to call expired listings or for sale by owners. And I'm like, well, I don't consider that a cold call. To me, a cold call would be just going through the phone book, so to speak, and randomly calling people, hey, do you want to buy or sell real estate? So I say to these agents, let me see if I've got this straight. Somebody was for sale up until midnight yesterday. They didn't sell their house. They want to sell because they were for sale yesterday, and you don't want to call them. And you don't want to call for sale by owner, even though approximately 90% of for sale by owners end up listing with a real estate professional. You don't want to call them. So you don't want to call the two best sources for getting a listing. Trust me, if you want to talk to people every day, because your job is to find people who want to buy and sell real estate, and you need to know what to say to them once you find them, why would you not call the two best groups in the planet to see if they want to sell their house? So before you pick up the phone, you need to practice and know what you're going to say to them before you even call them. And if you practice that ahead of time and you know what to say, you're golden. And then you will find somebody that wants to meet with you because they have to sell their house. But in real estate, we all make mistakes and we all fail. I remember the first expired I called. I even remember the script. I picked up the phone and said, Mr. Johnson, hi, this is John Hoffman with Nothnagel Gallery of Homes. I see that your home recently expired, and my question to you is twofold. Number one, do you plan on reselling your home? Number two, have you thought of changing your representation? And they said, well, I'm not really sure what we're going to do. And I said, okay, thank you so much, and I hung up. I completely blew it. If you think you made a mistake or you think you failed, you never have in real estate. You've gone and you've learned. You've learned, I'm going to get better. I said this, I shouldn't have said that. So you have to have the fortitude that you're going to do this every day. You're going to want to talk to people every day to see if they want to buy and sell. Do they know of anybody else that wants to buy and sell? And at the same time, when you find somebody that might want to buy or sell, or they know somebody that does, you need to know what to say to them. The next big challenge is people come into real estate, they don't have a mentor. And so they don't have somebody they can go to that's at the office that can kind of coach them and answer questions when they have them. And so that mentor is somebody that is willing to help you. A lot of offices are going to offer you some mentor programs, but if they're not there all the time or you don't go seek somebody, you really need to do that. And I suggest you look for a mentor who's doing at least 25 to 40 transactions a year. Somebody doing 5, 6 transactions a year, they're not going to know as much as obviously somebody doing a lot more. So the more transactions you do, the more experience you have, the more examples that you can give. So if you're going to, when you go into real estate, find a mentor, find somebody that can help you. Another mentor for you is your own coach. I've been involved with Mike Ferry coaching for over 25 years. And my business would not be where it is right now if I didn't have that weekly coaching call, which is a paid mentor. Most of you can't afford to do that right now, but let me tell you my story. This was back in 2000, 2001. I was doing approximately at that year, just moved into Florida, restarted real estate, because I'd been a realtor in upstate New York for almost 10 years and built a good book of business. I was rebuilding it here in Florida. I signed up for Mike Ferry coaching, and that year I just closed 27 transactions, and it was in December of 2001. And I joined coaching, and I did exactly what my coach told me to do, and I doubled my transaction count within a year. The next year I did over 57 transactions, then it grew up into the 80s, and then I've been doing over 100 to 200 transactions every year since then. So even if it's a paid mentor, as soon as you can afford that, or you want to grow your business, I would highly suggest you do that. If I could turn back the clock, if I had enough money saved and I was new to real estate, I would definitely join a coaching program because that's going to expedite my learning process. Think of a professional coach or a professional mentor as like a college education. You're going to spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to go to college to get a degree, and you might not be able to get a job with the degree that you want. But that being said, if it's going to cost you $12,000, $13,000 a year to have a professional mentor that's going to really help you build your business quickly and hold you accountable, I think that that's a great investment. Going back to a previous point, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't look at a mistake as something that you should be ashamed of. Think of it as a learning experience. If you say something that you shouldn't say, you're like, man, I blew that. Well, next time I won't do that. You go to a listing appointment and you couldn't handle the objections right. Don't beat yourself up. Say, I need to spend more time working on that objection so the next time it comes up, I'm going to grow. Look at every one of these situations as a growth period, because the more growth periods you have, the less those mistakes happen. So every time that you have learned something, and whether you call it a mistake or whether you call it an error, or don't ever call it a failure, if you go on a listing appointment and you fail, you just didn't get it. So find out why you didn't get it, learn how to do it better, and that's how you become a more experienced agent. After 4 or 5 years of selling real estate full time, and by then you should be doing 30 to 50 listings a year, in my opinion, at a bare minimum, you're going to end up going out and getting 75, 80% of your listings. When you're new, you're probably only going to get about 25 or 30%. So you need to get better. Right? And the only way you get better is by doing it. And so don't consider a mistake a bad thing. The other point that happens a lot is people quickly find out, and this just happened with an agent in my office that was new and wanted to learn and was doing every training video. And I bumped into him 2 weeks later and he was so frustrated. He goes, "Oh my God, this is so much harder than I thought it would be. There's so much I need to learn. And there isn't anybody that's always available to tell me how to do it." Well, you know what, guys? Welcome to real estate. There's a reason why 87% of realtors fail, because this is a much harder business than people can ever imagine. There is not a checklist of things for you to do every day to how to be successful. There is not a checklist for things for you to learn. And, matter of fact, I was asked a great question 2 weeks from a new agent, and he looked at me and he goes, "How many years do I need to be in the business to come close to your knowledge? Is it 25 or 30? And I looked at him, I said, "You know what, you're on the right path, but that's the wrong question. The right question is, how many transactions do I need to do so I'm really competent? I know how to price properties. I know how to share this information with buyers and sellers in a way that makes sense so that I create this tremendous value in their lives." And I said, it's not the time, it's the number of transactions, right? And I think that number is 500. If you want to become really good at pricing property, you're going to need to list 500 homes, because nothing short of experience is going to teach you all the ins and outs about real estate. For example, let's say there's a 3,000 square foot 2-story home, and the same builder built the same 3,000 square foot house next door, but a slightly different floor plan. And they both sell for $600,000. And they both go on the market 3 years later. The first one is going to sell for less than the second one because it has a dysfunctional floor plan. Now that takes experience to understand what a dysfunctional floor plan is. In this particular instance, this floor plan has more air-conditioned, heated square footage upstairs than downstairs. And that is almost never a good thing. So if you're going to want to have more than 3 friends over for a dinner or a party or to visit, there's not enough room downstairs because it's all upstairs. And most buyers don't want to buy that house. They're going to buy the one next door because there's more square footage downstairs than upstairs, so there's more living space downstairs. That's just one of many examples on what could affect the value of property. And as we mentioned earlier, that's just going to take so many transactions for people to learn, because this is all on-the-job learning for the most part. So if you're new to real estate, really start paying attention to floor plans and new construction. And if you're more of an experienced realtor and you don't know this, you're going to want to go visit every new construction site in your area, or go tour at least 5 properties every day in the afternoon, because if you're only selling 5 or 10 or 15 homes a year and you're full-time, you should have time to do this. The next point that realtors, when they're new or existing, need to understand is that this is a 50 or 60 hour a week job. If you want to make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year, you're going to work 50 to 60 hours a week for a long time, which means you have to have a schedule. You need to come in the morning. You need to accomplish these tasks every day. And by the time you get to 1 o'clock, if you're not going on listing appointments or showing property, you do not go home. You actually go practice what you're going to say to people. Once you find somebody that wants to buy and sell, you're going to tour properties, or you're going to try to call those expireds or FSBOs, or if you have any past clients or sphere of influence that you couldn't, so you can talk to people and find out if they need to buy or sell real estate, or if they know somebody that does. Selling real estate, it's not hard, but it's not easy. If you follow a schedule, you follow a system, you have a business plan, you do what you're supposed to do every day, you put in 50 to 60 hours a week, you will be successful and you will achieve your monetary goals. And the potential there for you is to make more money than you can possibly imagine. But more importantly, you're going to be able to help buyers and sellers because you've got such a level of knowledge. Because I've got to tell you, if you are a buyer or seller and you're working with a realtor who sells 2 or 3 homes a year, what the hell are you thinking? They don't have the skill set. They don't have the expertise, the negotiating ability, how to price properties, how to walk you through a contract. There is so much to real estate that agents need to master that buyers and sellers need to be aware of this as well. So it's no surprise that 87% of realtors fail. And I hope this video is shining some light on the things that you're going to need to do to be successful.